That'd be absolutely devastating.
This is Joey Owens' show. They've been trying to get me on this podcast forever, and this is the worst damn podcast I've ever been on. So you all can kiss my ass while I win this match.
All right, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to G.W.R. Gonzo'S Wrestling Room. Monday, July 3rd, 2023. I'm Chris Gonzo'S, joined by Tony Gonzo'S.
You know who you are this time.
Yep. And joined by Marcus Fine. How's it going, Marcus?
Earlier, he didn't know who he was.
I knew who I was, just couldn't pronounce it.
Okay, that's bad when you can't pronounce your own name.
I don't know what was going on.
I don't know what he said. I'm Chris Gonzo'S. I said, what? Who are you?
Been drinking, I guess.
That's the sad part. He hadn't been drinking.
Maybe he needs to.
Maybe that's what it needs, man.
It just came out that way. I don't know what was going on. But, well, Dad, I'll let you kind of get started while I finish sharing this stuff real quick.
Well, I know Marcus went to a show Friday night at WCWO. I'll let him do that, and then we'll talk about, I think, well, all three of us got to see Money in the Bank, and then we'll go on from there.
Right. Well, before I start, I want to, if anybody wants to go to good free wrestling tomorrow, White River Wrestling will be at the Biddle Memorial Park in Sheridan. They have free shows at noon, 2, and 4. So if you have nothing to do, run down to Sheridan, and I highly recommend White River Wrestling. So Jake Oman and Jack Vaughn will be on there. I think Dutch Boy, Logan Myers, just to name a few. So
It should be really good.
yeah, so they're running all 3 shows, three free shows. So, all right. Went to the Dub on Friday for their big end of the month, Red, White, and Bruised. Had a heck of an upset, so we'll get on with this. Zay Gates defeated Jesse Winchester to retain the Gunslinger title. JB defeated Jake Elliott. The Mad Russian defeated the Buck Sexton, Christian Cash, Marshall Silver, Jake Phoenix, and Tajon Cage in a 6-man elimination scramble. Hidari defeated Dutch Boy Platinum. He's now the new WCWO territorial title, and since Dutch Boy lost, Dutch Boy was fired from WCWO. So I don't know where they're going with that. Damian Real defeated Dex Royal, and Dex Royal is now with Skull Crusher. Skull Crusher is now his manager. Ruthless Domination versus VIP for the tag team titles. Double count out, and so they just held the belts up. So there is no tag team champions in WCWO right now. In 6-person action, Rachel Armstrong, Pogo, and Luke Savage defeated Brody Botkins, Jackson Morgan, and Logan Myers. And here's your upsets. Damon Real defeated Dalton Love to become the new WCW Outlaw title. And 5 minutes in the celebration, Dex Royal came out with his lightning bolt that he won last month before, put it on the line, got a chance for the title, and defeated Damon Real. And so now Dex is now the new Outlaw title. And came close to a riot. Had a rowdy fan, and the fans in front of him stopped him from storming the ring towards Dalton. Got Phil involved, and it got pretty hairy there for a little bit. But I will give the credit to us loyal WCWO fans who knew, because I'd never seen that guy before, who stopped him before he got there. So,
Was Dalton being his normal self, or
attacking
that?
No, he was doing it himself. I don't know why that guy took offense to it. Dalton was just yelling at everybody, and evidently that guy took offense to it. I don't know. So, Pretty
Well,
good show. I'd say it was. I wouldn't say it was a sellout, but it was pretty close. There's probably 10 seats, but it was hot in there.
That's what you told me. You told me it was real hot.
Goodness. It was pretty miserable in there, to be honest with you, for heat wise. Juanita sold a lot of popsicles on Friday, so
I bet.
I bet it was hot because it was hot out.
Yeah, it was really hot. That place gets really hot and it can get really cold also. So
yeah.
two extremes. Well, next thing we'll talk about is the Money in the Bank pay-per-view that was Saturday, and over in
London.
England. Yeah, London, and it was at 3:00 on Saturday afternoon, which was I kind of like it myself.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought it was a really, really good pay-per-view. I really enjoyed it. Marcus, what was your takes on it? I'll give some takes on it, but what do you think?
I thought it was fair.
I know you don't watch a lot of the pay-per-views.
It was the first full pay-per-view I've seen in a while. I give it a solid A. I mean, Kelly stayed through the whole thing too. I didn't see anything bad in that entire show. I like the fact that Shayna Baszler beat down on Ronda Rousey out of nowhere. I mean, that just came out of nowhere. I like the deal with the handcuffs because that was just classic.
Yes, it was.
It's a classic how they did that. Roman Reigns finally got a pinfall after 3.5 years. Are they bringing WrestleMania to London somewhere down the line?
I think then you just say they just announced it.
Yeah.
Did they do it?
I don't think it's official yet, but the rumor is WrestleMania 41, and that wouldn't be this year. It would be next year if it comes out to be true. Now, I'm not saying it's true, but that's something that I did read. London's going to get WrestleMania 41.
41?
Yeah, 40's next, and that's Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. I think it meant 2041. I thought, damn, they sure.
No.
They teased the hell.
Yeah, they really teased it.
They teased the hell out of that one.
Yeah.
I'll be dead by then.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure I'll be here for that.
Yeah. But
So you said Wembley?
yes, at Wembley.
That'd be pretty cool.
And me and Tony talked Saturday that the crowd in London was comparable to the crowd in Kokomo. I've never heard such a loud group of people. Those London people were into that from start to finish.
It's some of the chants that they would get going because their chants are so much different than like the chants here in the United States. So
we couldn't understand
thought
some
that
of
was
the chants.
pretty
We kept like, what are they saying? What are they saying?
They were singing to Bailey, and she got upset, told them to shut up, and then what was they saying to Roman, Chris? I forget.
If you hate Roman, stand up.
Yeah, if you hate Roman, stand up. That's what they were singing to Roman. Yeah, that's what they were singing to Roman.
Yeah, that's what they're chanting to Roman. If you hate Roman, stand up.
I'll tell you what, man, I was so impressed with that match.
Hey, Patty.
Because there was really no wrestling moves in that match. There was some super kicks and punches and kicks and beating up and stuff like that. It was really, for the most part, a slow-paced match, but it was all about storytelling, emotions, facial expressions from all competitors, including Paul Heyman. It was just outstanding. It was really, really old school type of wrestling, and I wish more people would understand that. People say, well, WWE don't put on 5-star matches. Well, people's idea of 5-star matches of let's kick out of everything, which they kicked out of some stuff there too that maybe they shouldn't have, and that happens some. But it don't have to be all 100 miles a minute and flying all over the place to be a 5-star match. I want to be entertained, and I was thoroughly entertained with this pay-per-view. The way it started off. I told Chris this too, and I know you enjoyed the men's Money in the Bank. What do you think of the name of the group, Chris?
Not sure where you're going.
I told you to give the review. I can't think of it now. Anyway, Bleacher Report. They give the men's Money in the Bank a B-.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. How that match, to me, that match was an A. I thought the women's match was an A too for because of the storytelling, and I thought the women did a great job too. Yeah, I thought both matches were outstanding. The Shayna Baszler match, I think they give it a C. I thought it, with a surprise, it deserved at least a B.
Well, if I had to pick the worst match on the show, that ladies tag match was it, and it wasn't bad. So
No, it was a solid match. It was a good match, and I'd give it a solid B. I wouldn't give anything on that show under a B.
no, I ranked the whole thing an A. So
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was really good. Chris, what do you think?
I thought it was real good. Really enjoyed the last match, and I think somebody gets. I don't think Solo Sikoa gets maybe some of the credit he deserves. I think he gets overlooked a little bit because if you watch him during that match, his facial expressions, his selling, he looks like he belongs in there. And I know he hasn't been. I know he's still pretty new to the business,
Yeah,
but he looks like he belongs in the main event. I thought that kind of stood out during that match.
He's only been in WWE for about a year, but even before that, I don't think he's been wrestling longer than 2 or 3 years. Yeah, he belongs. They've got a lot good going for him. LA Knight
And that spot that Ricochet and Logan Paul done, where they went off the ladder and tried to land on the top rope like that, that was crazy.
yeah,
I know they had a little trouble with it, but they were able to save it. But that, man, I don't think people realize how difficult that would be.
And I thought the ladies' match was interesting that they had 2 sets of out of this. What was it? 6 ladies. There's 2 teams in there.
Yes.
Becky and Zelina Vega were basically on their own, but then you had Bayley and her tag team partner, and you had Trish Stratus and her tag team partner, and so it'll be interesting to see if Bayley and
Yeah, I liked it. I liked how they handcuffed him through the ladder. I thought that was pretty cool.
Classic stuff.
Yeah, I think that Bailey is going to cost when Io Sky goes to cash in that belt, the briefcase. I think Bailey's going to cost her, and that's how they're going to turn Io as a
Bailey going to join the Judgment Day.
Did you notice that the ring announcer messed up, and when Bailey came out, they announced her a member of the Judgment Day?
Well, I wouldn't have caught that because I guess I would have, but since don't follow it enough, that didn't strike me out. But
yeah, it was kind of crazy.
Speaking of Judgment Day, Frankie, but I forget what I was going to say. Oh, of the Judgment Day, do you think they're going to split up? But they're doing that thing with Priest and Balor.
I think Priest is going to go good. I think Finn's going to stay in the Judgment Day if the Judgment Day stays, and they're going to bring in the Irish Ace who came from NXT to be a new member of the Judgment Day if the Judgment Day stays together. That's what I think is going to happen.
Frankie said he's glad Damien cost Finn the match. Definitely going to see them argue tonight.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really solid effort by them. I thought it was a great show.
Those women, they have to do more work. Nothing against them, but those ladders are pretty heavy. So for them to try to hoist them up like they do,
and that she calls it a code red, Canadian destroyer or whatever. She calls it code red, but that she pulled off on and through. I can't remember who it was now on the ladder. It was outstanding.
Somebody hit that ladder, and I thought they were going to bounce off the ladder out of the damn ring.
Yeah,
I forget who it was now.
Yeah, I thought Logan looked really good too.
Yeah, it might have been Logan Paul.
Might have been.
But the way they put them ladder on that ropes, and then they hit that ladder, it looked like he was going to hit the ladder, bounce right out of the ring on that one. But no, I thought it was good. That one spot was crazy, like I said, with Ricochet and Logan Paul. And then I'd agree with Marcus. The weakest match probably was that women's tag.
And I thought it was pretty solid.
Yeah, I'm not saying it was a bad match.
Yeah.
But.
I always think it's funny. The ring announcer says, "Oh, they got their hand on the briefcase." Well, that doesn't matter. You need to get above the briefcase and get to that clip. Yeah. That's when you freak out. Just spinning it around, they can't get it. They go to pull it down. they got to get above it and get that clip released. So,
My crowd went crazy when they thought LA Knight was going to win.
Oh yeah.
oh
Well,
yeah,
the crowd-
he was a big, yeah, that was the fan favorite, definitely.
he has got so over with really not giving a push. This is going to be a stretch because I don't think it's that level, at least not yet. But it reminds me a little bit of Stone Cold. I mean, that they really wasn't giving him a push at the time. And then he did win the King of the Ring, and he said what he said, and then it went skyrocketed from that. But when he came in as the ringmaster and crickets, and it just kind of caught on. The other big thing was when he didn't tap out to the sharpshooter and was bleeding and everything, and he passed out to Bret Hart, and almost like a double change there. One went heel, one went good guy, so that helped too. But he's just over, and
Yeah, he is.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do. I'm glad they didn't give him the briefcase if they wasn't going to do anything with him. I think that's a smart move. I think I read something, and Frankie said it earlier on the show. It looks like maybe they're going to put him after the United States Championship. And I also did see a thing also today about maybe him feuding with Logan Paul, which I don't think is a bad idea either.
No.
Because everybody hates Logan Paul, so
Yep.
it's just going to add the fuel to him too. So,
I like the fact they said, what is it? Gunther's the third longest reigning Intercontinental title.
Yep.
Behind Honky Tonk Man and Macho Man. I like that.
yeah, and he's going to break that. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I bet he does too.
Yeah, he's outstanding.
And then I thought John Cena showing up was pretty cool.
Yep, I thought that the crowd loved that, and
And I thought it was cool how they were able to pull it off without no reports of it coming out or anything.
there was no reports of him being there or going to be there, and just pretty good surprise they pulled off.
That's hard to do these days.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very difficult. I know everybody's going crazy. They want to know about Randy Orton, and Triple H won't give anything away. He doesn't want anybody to know when Randy Orton's coming back. Whether it's tomorrow or
It's like a big night.
who knows? You never know. Well, we've got the greatest feuds for the NWA, AWA, and WWE is what we're going to do tonight. And who wants to go first?
No matter me.
We'll go first, Chris. Go ahead. Chris had the WWE.
All right. Well, first I wrote a list down from Bleacher Report, and then I wrote down some as well. Actually, I wrote down mine first, and then wrote the Bleacher Report list down. So there's going to be a couple that are on there, but their list at number 10 they had Hardy Boys, Edge versus Edge and Christian versus the Dudley Boys. Then they had Lesnar and Reigns at 9. This was their best feuds in WWE history.
Okay.
Or best rivalries. It was 9 was Lesnar and Roman Reigns. 8 was John Cena versus Edge. 7 they had Hogan and Savage. 6 they had John Cena and CM Punk. Then they had Hogan and the Andre the Giant. Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. I can't read that.
You wrote it.
Stone Cold versus the. I'm not sure what.
Vince McMahon, maybe.
No, that's number 1. I can't remember what number 3 is now. Versus the something. Number 2 is Undertaker versus Kane, and then their number 1 was Austin versus McMahon.
Wasn't The Rock, was it?
Yes, that's what it was.
The Rock. Yep. The Rock.
Yep. Oh, I can get out as a ROK.
You're like me. You get the look of like, what the hell am I right?
But some I had wrote down was Hogan versus Andre the Giant, Stone Cold and McMahon, because that was one of the feuds that really took off the Attitude Era.
Mm-hmm.
I had Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. Of course, I had Hogan and Savage, Rock and Stone Cold, Undertaker and Kane. I really liked when they had their big feud.
Well, that debut when Kane came, showed up out of nowhere. It
Yeah.
was in the Hell in the Cell with Shawn Michaels
Ripped
and
the cage.
Undertaker came out of nowhere. I mean, it was great.
And they did those Inferno match things too.
Yep.
I think it's stupid, but
Then
especially
I
if
had
you're side. But
Daniel Bryan versus the Authority. It ended with him finally getting the championship at WrestleMania with the fans ready to boycott.
Yep.
Rock versus Cena. Also had Mankind versus Undertaker. They had a real good feud. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. And then I had Stone Cold Steve Austin and Kurt Angle.
What's your favorite feud?
My favorite, man. I'll probably have to go with Stone Cold and Mr. McMahon.
It's tough for me.
Man, it's tough.
Just because of classic and because of what it was and what I think it helped shape professional wrestling to what it is today. I'm going to go with Andre and Hogan.
see, now that's what I would have done. In the '80s, it was Andre and Hogan for me. In the '90s, it was Stone Cold and Vince.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
If I think of a rivalry, that's the first one I think of is Stone Cold and Vince.
7 o'clock.
And 7 o'clock. One that I do think of, though, not saying it's my favorite necessarily, but the Cena and Edge. Edge going to Cena's dad's house and smacking him around and everything there. That's very memorable. I'm surprised Orton and Cena's not on there.
Yeah,
because they had an outstanding rivalry also, Orton and Cena did. Another one,
Shawn Michaels and Jericho was a real good one too.
Another one that's not, I don't think you said, Piper and Hogan.
Yeah,
that's where I came in, was Piper and Hogan.
Yeah, because Piper and Hogan, almost without Piper and Hogan, there may not have been Andre and Hogan. It helped set all that into motion.
Wasn't it Shawn Michaels and Jericho? Wasn't it Jericho, the one we was at where
he hit his wife?
Yeah, he kicked.
He punched his wife.
And Michael's wife.
And he messed up and did punch her. And give her a real black eye.
I was wanting to make sure that it was Jericho. I thought it was.
Yeah, Hogan.
That's a good one too. That's a good one too, Damien. Triple H and Shawn Michaels.
Well, I'm surprised did Triple H even make that list?
No.
Well, that's kind of interesting that he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's been in some good ones too.
Yeah, Hogan and Piper is what started WrestleMania. If we wouldn't be, that's another one of those, we wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for them.
Let me ask you guys, because I've heard other people say this, and Damien question about it. If they did it if they do WrestleMania in London, let's say just say London, the show WrestleMania would be at 3:00. I have no issue with that. I think it's perfect for me. It would be now on the West Coast. It would be noon.
Well, that means it in around 7, 8 o'clock. I'd be happy with that. I'd be fine with that.
Probably 6:30, 7 o'clock, especially if they do it 2 days.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, I would be too. Because I get really tired by the end of some of these WrestleManias if I stay up to watch them because it's late to the night.
Yeah, and then I got to take my son home, and time I get back home and everything. Yeah,
I'd be fine with it personally. That's just me. I mean, I know there may be some people not, but I think it would be awesome. Okay, Marcus, you had the AWA.
I did. I have 3 pages of AWA stuff, but AWA hasn't ran a show since the 1990s. And there isn't a lot of stuff out there, which just surprises me because I've been researching. AWA lasted like 30-some years. And even on Peacock, all the stuff's from 87.
Yeah, it's hard to find
a lot of stuff for AWA in it. So I contacted Santa Rob Pugh to get a few of his insights because he lived up in Wisconsin and was a Crusher fan, and he gave me a few, and then I just had to see what I could find. So,
hey, if you ever
look at Marcus using his connections.
Yep. If you ever want somebody you might want to check with, if you want to research on AWA, because I know he liked it a lot too. He's a huge Bruiser fan. Big Pete.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I my. I've not seen that before. I mean, it's no big deal. There's just big yellow line around my border.
Oh no, we don't see it.
Okay. Well, as long as you can see me.
Yep.
Okay. That's the first I've seen that. But all right. Well, here we go. 3 pages worth. A lot of this came from memory because it was just, and then I got to reading in on bios of like Dick Bockwinkel and stuff to see who they feuded. That's how I had to go.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen like I said, AWA went out of business in like 1990, 91. The end stuff was crap. WWE was already, well, there we go. I lost my yellow. The WWE was already well into its takeover, and then the AWA went off TV. So, all right, here we go. Nick Bockwinkel feuded with a lot of people. I think Nick Bockwinkel, in my opinion, is one of the major faces of the AWA.
Yep.
I know Crusher will probably be another one, but Hulk Hogan and Nick Bockwinkel, huge feud. Hogan actually won the title from Bockwinkel, and for some reason they pulled it back off of him. Two of my favorites, and I remember this one: King Kong Brody versus Jerry Blackwell. Sheik Adnan El Casey had Blackwell and Kim Patera. No, yeah. I think it was Kim Patera. Anyhow, and then Brody come in and attack Blackwell. And I remember Blackwell making promos about slaughtering these hogs because he looked at one of these hogs one day and it looked like Brody, and by God, he wasn't going to have that, so he had him for dinner that night. I mean, that was classic promo back then. Rick Martel, when he was the world champ, versus Jimmy Garvin, that was a feud that happened in the 85, 86.
Yep.
The Road Warriors taking on the Hennigs, Larry and Kurt. Kurt Hennig taking on Nick Bockwinkel. Kurt actually took the belt off Bockwinkel with the roll of quarters from Larry Zbyszko.
Hey, do you remember the story about the Road Warriors when they wrestled Bruiser and Crusher?
You mean the fact that Bruiser and Crusher didn't know how to deal with them guys?
Well, Bruiser and Crusher
told them they didn't know what to do.
They told them the first thing. Said, "Look, ain't gonna be none of this. You picking us up and throwing us around shit. We're gonna punch you and hit you, and you can punch and hit us, and that's the way it's gonna be. Do you understand?" They told, "Yes, sir. Yeah, we understand." So the first they did, hit the ring, clothesline them, knock them down, pick them up, put them both of them gorilla presses over their head and threw them.
Well, evidently I had the yellow around my screen all to get to. Oh.
Yeah, he wrote his joke.
I thought you seen it too.
He was kidding.
I thought maybe it was around my little.
I figured out what it was. Somebody must have started another show, and they changed the background, and it went to the A-side background that has a yellow border that goes around the edge.
Okay.
And then when I switched it back to our background, you said it went away.
Okay.
Why I'm messing with our stuff.
Yeah, people. Jeez. Anyway, so Kurt Hennig defeated Bockwinkel because of the. Hey, David.
How's it going, Dave?
Kurt Hennig beat Bockwinkel with the roll of quarters that Zbyszko got, so then that created a feud, Bockwinkel and Larry Zbyszko. I seen this in Indianapolis, my OEAWA show, Sergeant Slaughter versus Boris Zukov. You remember who defeated the Road Warriors to become the champs?
Trying to remember. I do, but I don't.
Steve Regal and Jimmy Garvin, two of the skinniest people you could ever get, defeated the Road Warriors for those titles. Well, they had help from the Freebirds, so Hulk Hogan versus Jerry Blackwell, Jerry Lawler versus Kerry Von Erich. That's what Kerry Von Erich was the WCCW champion, and Jerry Lawler was the AWA champion. It was a unification, and it was a piss poor. Yep. They even said the arena was probably a tenth full. I mean, they didn't even break. I think it was like 5,000, if that. Very poor showing for that.
I think it was at a big stadium too.
Yeah,
I remember right.
They lost their ass on that, and that's where Kerry Von Erich had a motorcycle wreck or something and come in all bloody, and yeah, that was just terrible. Now we're going way back. Vern Gagne versus Nick Bockwinkel. And then Nick Bockwinkel versus Mad Dog Vachon. Page 2. All right, so then I looked up Greg Gagne. His feuds were with Bobby Duncombe, which I totally forgot about him, Blackjack Lanza, Pat Patterson, Ray Stevens, and then he teamed with Jim Brunzell, and their um, feuds were with Adrian Adonis and Jesse Ventura. I remember that. Oh, it is. And then I got Ken Patera and Jerry Blackwell. So it was Ken Patera. What's the most famous one you remember, Tony? If I say AWA feud, what do you think? Tag team.
Tag team. Oh man. Well, I'm gonna say this. I know they did an AWA, but they did an Indianapolis too. I'm gonna say Bruiser Crusher and the Blackjacks.
That's what I have.
To me, because
No, that's
I actually seen one of those matches.
yeah. Then I had Crusher versus Jerry Blackwell. I don't remember that. And Crusher versus Mad Dog Vachon. That must have been in the 70s. Here's some really old names, Tony. Ray the Crippler Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel versus the Crusher and Red Bastien. Then you had Crippler Stevens versus Bockwinkel. Okay, here's the Vern Gagne feuds. Gene Kaniski, Dr. Bill Miller, but he was Dr. X or Mr. M. Vern Gagne versus Fritz, Vern Gagne versus Crusher, Vern Gagne versus Ray Stevens, Mad Dog Vachon, Larry Henning, and Bockwinkel, which I know I repeated some of those. So then I looked up Mad Dog Vachon, and he teamed up with Butcher Vachon. You remember them guys?
Yep.
Yep, Ray the Crippler Stevens. And they took on Crusher and Bruiser.
Real quick on Ray, I'm pretty sure it was Stevens, the one that, and I've told this story before, but I remember watching on Bob Luce out of Chicago where he jumped off the ladder and Pepper Gomez, this was AWA, it was part of Bob Luce's show, and Pepper Gomez was down laying, and he had the cast iron stomach, and Ray Stevens was supposed to jump off on his stomach. Well, he didn't. He jumped off on his throat.
Oh.
And supposedly crushed his larynx, and they did a big feud, a huge feud with that. Who knows? I mean, that's probably 70, 71, 72. I don't know. I don't remember. I know I was a kid and seen it come out of Chicago on Channel 44.
Well, I got another story with that too. That while I was watching YouTube stuff, match between Mad Dog Vachon and Butcher versus Crusher and Bruiser. One of them was blading, and Bruiser jumped off the ring apron and hit him while he was blading, and crushed that blade up into his head, and it hit an artery, and the blood just, pouring out of his head. And yeah. See, Blackjack Lanza was before my time, David. I've seen a lot of video. Oh, yeah. I have seen Blackjack Lanza in person, but he was part of the road agents with the WWE because he helped set up the cages and stuff when they were in Indy.
Yeah, I don't think because it was in the 70s, I think Mulligan and Lanza as a tag team should probably be, and they're probably not. I'd have to see a list. They should definitely be top 10, and they're probably not, but they deserve to be. They were outstanding. They were way ahead of their time and really good.
And do you think they would have been as successful without Bobby Heenan with them?
They could have been, but I think Heenan definitely helped.
Yeah, he definitely helped. All right, so let's see where I'm at. Now I got the Stan Hansen. Stan Hansen feuded with Rick Martel. In fact, that's who Martel dropped the title to. And then Stan Hansen, I don't know if he feuded with Bockwinkel, but Bockwinkel ended up getting handed the title because Stan Hansen refused to. Yep. He actually ran over it and sent it back to him, and because they wanted to use Stan Hansen to take on jobbers, and he thought, well, I'm the world champ. Why am I taking on jobbers? And so, okay. Now, here's the Bockwinkel feuds. Old names here. Edward Carpentier, Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson, Wahoo McDaniel, Bruiser, Jumbo Sharuda, Larry Zbyszko. And then if you remember, Bockwinkel teamed with Mr. Saito took on the Fabulous Ones, the Hennings, the Road Warriors, Gardnia, and Brunzel. And then Bachwinkle with Ray Stevens took on Zabisco. Well, no, that's, I don't know. Anyway, they took on Kurt Hennig and Scott Hall. That must have been Roy later. Then they had the Freebirds versus the Road Warriors. And that's all I can come up with, which I thought was quite a bit. But since there's hardly anything out there now, which just kills me that you can't find none of that stuff.
The Rockers had some pretty good feuds too, but I'm trying to remember who the major feuds were.
I don't think they like that idea. That dog don't like that comment.
We're about to have a major feud go on right here in the room.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember. I'm sure you. I think that's where you got introduced to AWA, or maybe not. Maybe Channel 4 first. I remember, of course, and Chris probably seen some of the AWA on ESPN.
Yeah, I didn't have that. Mine was on Channel 4.
Okay, we got it for a while on ESPN, and of course Channel 4 also on like Saturdays or whenever it was on, whenever you could catch it.
I remember watching it when I was younger.
Yeah, on ESPN. That's probably when you would have seen it.
That was some good stuff. I can't believe it.
Maybe Grandpa.
Yep.
Vince owns it. I don't know
Probably
why.
as well, but
Vince owns all that. I don't know why you're always seeing that 87 stuff. Where's all the stuff prior to that?
Yeah, I'd like to see some older stuff. I agree with you 100%. Well, I have the NWA.
I don't know if I know Chuck Marlowe.
Chuck Marlowe?
You know that name?
Yeah. He did stuff with Channel 4.
Was he a wrestler or was he a?
No, he did announcing. He did announcing for Bruiser some, and then he did a lot of stuff for high school sports and stuff too. Okay. He was big on Channel 4, maybe Channel 6 too, maybe I can't remember. Okay, the greatest feuds for NWA. I started off with Tully Blanchard and Magnum TA, considered one of the bloodiest matches of all time. And something I did not know, their I Quit match was the first time a wrestler took a microphone and announced I quit. I did not know that. That was the first time that was ever done. I didn't know that.
I remember that match.
Yep. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Next one was Tommy Rich and Buzz Sawyer, a feud that lasted over 2 years. And I did not know this. They really did hate each other. They fought in the ring. They fought in parking lots. And they fought in bars. They hated each other. They fought all the damn time. They couldn't stand each other.
What time was that? Probably early 80s? Late 70s?
Yeah, early 80s. It was more in like a Georgia championship wrestling. Their big match that they had, I think they had a dog collar match too, but they had a big cage match. Also one of the bloodiest match ever. It was called the Last Battle of Atlanta. It was there in the Omni. Next, of course, probably one of my favorites of all time, Roddy Piper and Greg Valentine. In my opinion, the greatest dog collar match of all time, where Piper got his eardrum busted and was bleeding terribly from the ear and couldn't hardly stand and had permanent damage from that.
Did you watch the Most Treasures for Piper yet?
Yes.
They pulled that chain out of one of them boxes.
Yep, sure did. Next, I had the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnight Express.
Yes, indeed.
To me, personally, probably the greatest feud for tag teams of all time, especially when you add Cornette's mouth into it. Mm-hmm. When I sit down and think about it, I don't know if I can think of a better tag team feud. And it lasted so long, too, because it was years. Next, of course, Dusty Rhodes and Tully Blanchard. One of the matches they had, which they had all kinds of matches. Dusty won the services of Baby Doll because he beat Tully for 30 days. And then she ended up staying with Dusty Rhodes for a while. And then, of course, she turned on Dusty eventually.
Yeah, you're bringing up memories here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, next up, I don't know if you guys are going to know this one. I know Chris probably won't. You might. Sergeant Slaughter and Don Quinodal against Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood.
Yes, I remember that.
And this ended with 2 cage matches there in the Mid-Atlantic. Next up, definitely one of the greatest feuds of all time, Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. responsible for some of the greatest wrestling and stories of all time. They feuded. If Dusty was still alive, they might still be feuding. Who knows?
Mike and Joey. Yep.
If he was still alive, that'd probably be Flair's last match.
Probably.
Dusty's too.
Yeah, probably. Another one, the Freebirds and the Von Erichs. One of the craziest feuds of all time. I mean, it caused riots there in Texas. It did. They had riots.
And
it
they
was
dragged
just
that
crazy.
on. Yeah, they dragged that on
They still have riots.
forever.
Yeah.
They still have riots in Texas. Well, take Marcus down to the Texas show.
Yeah.
Get a riot.
Yeah, it was nuts. If anybody wants to see great feuds, look up World Class Wrestling and the Freebirds and the Von Erichs. It was just crazy. Another one was Kevin and Kerry Von Erich against Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams, and that was a hair versus hair match. That was nuts. That was one of the matches they had. And one thing, I don't know, I'm sure Marcus probably knows this, but Chris may not. Chris Adams is the one that invented the super kick. He was the
super kick.
He was the first one to use the super kick.
I know he used it a lot, but I didn't realize he was the first.
They say he was the first.
Somebody needs to hit him upside the head.
Those guys are pretty cool because Gino and Chris Adams did car commercials there in Texas. Those guys were so popular that they worked for car lots and selling cars. And Von Erichs had worked for that pizza company and was selling their buffet. And they used them guys for commercials a lot down there.
I think Gino and Chris were going to be big stars, but their problem was drugs. Both of them.
It was.
And then, of course, Gino ended up dead.
Well, so Chris got shot.
Killed by the mafia or whatever. And Adams was just ruined his career with alcohol and drugs. But they could have been big stars in WWE. I think they could have been. Another one that, matter of fact, Marcus, you might want to look this up. I'm going to try to look it up. Terry Gordy versus Killer Khan, Texas Death Match. This I even wrote down the date, 11/22/1984, and it was the world class match of the year, 1984.
Terry Gordy, Killer Khan. What was the date again?
11/22/1984.
That was probably a Thanksgiving night show.
Probably. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, no kidding.
Fredo almost robbed him.
Okay, this is another one. Gino Hernandez and Chris Adams had a big feud going on, and Hernandez had blinded Adams with the famous Freebird hair cream. That's of course. But they didn't get to finish the feud because when that happened, like 2 days later, Hernandez was found dead. So they never even got to finish the feud.
They announced that on the radio that morning.
Next one, man, I wish I could find footage of this. I talked to Marcus about earlier today. The Junkyard Dog and the Freebirds. JYD was blinded by the famous Freebird cream. This was 1980 in Mid-South. Could not see. He had a new baby just being born. They played that up. He couldn't see the new baby and all this stuff. It got so bad, the Freebirds got death threats. Somebody threatened it was going to shoot them and kill all of them, and they had to wear bulletproof vest around to protect themselves. The feud ended in a steel cage dog collar match between JYD and Michael Hayes.
Steel cage dog collar match.
Yes, I've been looking for footage, and I ain't been able to find it.
That'd be fantastic.
Yes, that's what I want from Mike King and Joey Owens. And I want a steel cage.
Maybe we can talk to the Buck and Jake Carter and put a cage up around them when they do theirs.
Yeah. This was one that I had forgot about. Magnum TA and Mr. Wrestling 2, 1984, teacher versus student, because he came in with Mr. Wrestling 2, and Mr. Wrestling 2 got jealous of Magnum TA's all of his fans, and he got jealous of it, and finally turned on Magnum TA, and then it ended up finally with Magnum TA winning the North American Championship there in Mid-South.
Yeah, I remember
and
that.
That was 1984. This one that went on forever too. Ted DiBiase and Hacksaw Jim Duggan in the Mid-South. This feud went on 1983 to 1984 to 1985. These dudes went forever. And here's some of the matches they had. Tuxedo match, Texas Death Match, steel cage matches, steel glove on a pole. I think they may have been the one to come up with the pole matches. And so that feud went on forever.
And they called it was
Steel
Hacksaw
gloves?
Duggan.
The glove, like it had a glove and had steel like embedded inside of it, like steel toe shoes, but it's still.
You know, and they called him Dugan, not Duggan. They called him Dugan.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's the feuds that I had down.
Yeah,
And then, is that you or me?
That wasn't me.
Check this real quick because I don't normally get anything from him. And then I have something I want to go over, but I got to check this.
Okay. Billy says Killer Khan is still alive, 76.
I seen Killer Khan take on Hulk Hogan at the state fairgrounds out there in the grandstands for WWF. And Killer Khan broke Bruno's neck and broke Andre's leg or something. And, yeah, blew that mist. One of the first mists I seen in person came from Killer Khan.
I wonder if that was around the time they were supposed to be at Market Square Arena and Hogan was hurt.
Yeah, maybe.
No, this was at the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
they had it out at the fair.
We should have went to the fairgrounds.
Yeah, but I had better luck.
Yeah, I can't believe that because I've seen Hogan a dozen times in Indy at least. And
every time we went to Market Square to watch him, there was always a damn sign on the door.
Well, there's one thing we do know: we were never at Market Square Arena at the same time.
No, that's true.
I miss that place.
I do too.
Oh, man, I miss that place. Easy to get in, easy to get out, easy to get around.
Yep.
Seats there was never a bad seat in that building.
The sound in there was real good.
Yeah, it was for concerts and stuff. It was real good.
You go to Gamebridge, some of those seats are so far up there and so far away. That thing is just huge. So
the next thing I have is something I come up with. I was looking at the most hated heels of all time, and this is WWE's list. And I only used 16, and I used their rating system, and I made a bracket. And let's see if we agree with these. We're probably not going to.
we're not.
And I'm gonna move the bracket out and see who we come out to be the champion of this. Okay, number 16, Sergeant Slaughter. Their number 1 seed was Gorgeous George.
Slaughter and Gorgeous George.
16 against number 1. Who do you think? Of course, you don't even know who Gorgeous George is.
Was the most hated
heel? Finding footage of him is even hard too.
Yeah,
all his stuff is black and white. So
they consider him the most hated heel of all time. This is the list from the Sportster.
He was the first man with a valet, wasn't he not?
Yes, he was the first with a valet. And some people will say Ric Flair got some. I don't know if Ric Flair did. I think it was more Buddy Rogers, but maybe a little bit.
Damien, I haven't watched it yet.
Well, I have, and I learned a lot of stuff about that I had no idea. Me and Tony's talking about that.
Yeah. Well, I didn't know that his drug habit and stuff was so. Speaking of
I know Glenn was watching it, I think Glenn was watching it the other night. But yeah, I need to watch it because I want to see it.
That's pretty deep stuff.
Oh yeah, not only that, I got to see an interview. Just happened to come on.
You all right over there?
No, with Roddy Piper, and they were talking about the Junkyard Dog, and he said Junkyard Dog was one of the nicest human beings you would ever meet. Was a pain in the ass to work with. He was not a wrestler, and he was difficult to work with. He didn't want to be tossed around. He didn't want to be anything. And if he didn't want to be that, he usually wasn't. He said he was one of the most difficult people that he ever worked with. Nice, outside the ring, probably one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet. And he said when he hits you hard. He said really hard. He said he was a tough son of a gun. That's the interview that I seen with Piper about JYD.
Had you seen The Dark Side with him yet?
I haven't yet.
Well, then I can't. part of the eye thing. I know an additional story, but if you hadn't seen it, I ain't gonna tell you.
Okay.
So I want
And Damien,
to be as surprised as I was. Yeah, it was deep. Damon,
I haven't seen that one.
I don't know that. I really wasn't a Doink the Clown fan to start with, and Matt Bourne. It was deep, and that guy had demons like there was no tomorrow. But
Yeah, I got to catch back up on them. I haven't seen.
So, what,
seen new ones.
so what do you guys think?
oh, we're still doing
As far
that.
as the
Well,
most
I'm gonna have to.
hated-
I'm gonna have to go with Slaughter.
Slaughter. I'm gonna have to go with Slaughter too because I don't know how
I've
much
seen
about
a lot
George.
of Gorgeous George stuff.
Okay, their number 2 seed be taking on a 15 seed. This is going to be interesting. Their 15 seed was CM Punk. Number 2 would be Superstar Billy Graham.
Phew, boy, the eras are so different. I actually, in my opinion, I think Billy Graham would have. That's my pick.
I think Graham too. I know Chris is probably going to think Punk because
Because he don't know anything about Billy Graham. Billy Graham was
That would be the only reason.
tough.
some people help us out there. What you think? Some young guys out
Yeah,
there, some
we
older
want to hear
guys out there.
everybody
What do you
else's opinions too.
I mean, Dave's an older dude. Billy Buzz's an older dude. Not that you're old. Don't take offense. You guys really ain't much older than me if you are older than me. I think David's older, but I think Billy Buzz
Yeah.
might be a little younger.
David's older because he just had a birthday.
Yep. And Damien's a young guy. He's probably going to think CM Punk. I mean, I don't know.
And he's a Chicago guy, so he's probably a CM Punk
he's
mark.
probably kissing his butt.
You still got Sav because you're handing it out now, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you
We'll
get to
see.
saying that. I think they ought to market Fabulous Freebird hair cream. I mean, they've
Yep.
used it in so many storylines in several promotions. Put a label on something and sell that.
We'll come back to that one.
David
Don't
said
get
he's
it in
old.
your eyes because it's proven fact. They don't burn your
Kelly's-
eyeballs out.
Kelly says Punk. So we're going to say right now
Does
it's
she
2-2. Yep. We're going to say the 2-2 right now. The next person that comments on that is going to get it.
Come on, Dave. We need one of our generation to chime in.
Yeah, Punk or
Punk or Superstar?
Billy Graham.
Billy says Superstar would destroy Punk.
Superstar would destroy
Okay.
Punk. I agree 100% with that.
We're going with Graham.
Kelly says Punk. And then David said he's old. And Glenn said David's old enough to remember Gorgeous George.
Yeah,
Okay.
they probably room together. I'm telling you.
All right, this is going to be interesting. 8 seed, 9 seed. Triple H is the 8 seed. Bobby Heenan's the 9 seed.
Oh,
Triple H. Triple H. Because Bobby Heenan didn't really win a lot.
This is not who would win the match. This is the most hated heel.
Hated. Okay, well, I
Yeah.
was playing the game all wrong.
ooh, that's a hard
Well, I
one.
have to go Bobby Heenan if you're going hated.
I think Heenan too.
I'm gonna have to go Heaton as well.
And well, I still will stay with Superstar because he upset
think Graham-
Bruno, and that was a riot. So,
Okay.
and then Gorgeous George, I don't know how people hated him. So,
Kelly said Triple H.
Kelly likes these little things you put together, Tony. She'll
Okay.
tell me
Next,
that.
next is remember this is the most hated heel. Now who would win the match?
Billy says Bobby.
I think so too.
Damien says Bobby.
So we got Bobby down. Okay, our next seed we're going to do is 6 and 11. Number 6 is Vince McMahon. Number 11 is Randy Savage.
Vince.
Most hated.
Vince.
Who's hated? I gotta go with Vince.
I think Vince too.
Vince long
I don't
term.
know. Randy was awful hated too in his time.
Yeah, but Vince was long term hate.
Okay.
Savage was on both sides of that fence a lot. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say because I remember Savage remember him as a heel, but also remember him as a face as well.
Next one, number 7 seed, Hulk Hogan NWO. Against number 10, Paul Heyman.
Heyman.
We got a lot of people saying Vince.
You think Heyman's more hated than Hulk Hogan NWO?
I think Hogan once Hogan did his turn and they had the riot at Beach Blast or whatever that was, I think Hogan was a fan favorite heel.
Well, that's kind of true. It was
I would say Heyman too. 'Cause I think Heyman was hated for longer.
Yeah, because I liked Hogan as a heel. I was a fan of Hogan as a heel Hogan. So
Kelly says Hogan. Glenn says Heyman.
we got
David
on
Kraft says Heyman.
okay. We'll go with Heyman. Next up, I have. This is interesting. I think it's difficult because I don't know much about this guy as a heel. Number 5 on their list was Freddie Blassie. Number 12, The Undertaker, when he was a heel.
I'm on Blassie.
I'm gonna have to go Undertaker, but I don't know much about.
Blassie was the one who used to bite people all the time.
Yeah, he'd sharpen his teeth.
Yeah, he would bite people and take chunks out of
I
them.
remember the name. I do, but I don't remember like.
Well, you
I can't
remember him
much
probably
about
as a manager because he managed Hogan, he managed
Okay,
Sheik.
that's-
And,
yeah,
so
that's
you
why I
didn't
remember
see him
that.
wrestle, but you go back. Yeah, I'm going to go Blassie on that.
Kelly goes Taker. She goes opposite of you on everything.
Glenn says
Yeah,
Blassie.
that's life.
That's life. That's your life. Isn't it?
Glenn says Blassie.
I think Blassie also. Chris is probably gonna say Taker because you don't know anything about Blassie.
Yeah, I'll go Taker just because only thing I remember about Blassie is like he said as a manager.
Okay, number 4 against number 13. 4 was Roddy Piper. 13 was $1 Million Man.
Piper.
I'm gonna say Piper.
I'm gonna say Piper too because that stuff in the Madison Square Garden with
$1 million.
they caused riots.
$1 Million Man was a good heel as well.
Yeah, but I think Piper's so much better. Who you got, Kelly? You going with Ted?
David said Piper.
Next up,
Kelly says Piper.
okay, she finally agreed with you, Mark.
Yay! Oh, let me know that
Glenn Richardson said Ty.
Next is number 3 seed Ric Flair against number 14 seed Ravishing Rick Rude.
Oh,
Man, the Battle of the Ricks.
I'm gonna have to go Flair. But Rude was
He was really hated too.
really
I'm
good
going to go
heel.
Rude because Flair's like Hogan. Flair was a favorite heel.
That's
Rude
true.
was legitimate heel. And I don't think he was ever a face, ever, if I can remember him, ever.
I think when he first came into the NWA and he didn't even have a mustache, and they didn't spell his name Rude, they spelled it ROOD.
Like that's his real name, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when he first came in. I think he might have been a G.W.R good guy, which didn't last very long. 6 months later, he was
Yeah, I'm
RUDE.
going to go Rude. I know I'll probably be the minority on that one, but
I think Flair, but it's close
Billy says Rick Rude.
because the Horseman was so hated.
Kelly says Flair. Kevin Mitchell says hi. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Kevin.
Kevin?
Okay, this is our final 8 we're going with, and these are the matchups, and then we'll go from there. We've got Slaughter against Heenan. We'll have Heyman against Piper, Blassie against Flair, and Vince against Graham. So our first one is going to be Sergeant Slaughter against Bobby Heenan,
And you go Heenan
most
again.
hated heel. I think Heenan.
I'll go Heenan.
Even though Slaughter, when he was the sympathizer, was pretty.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman and Roddy Piper.
Man, that's tough.
I think Piper. Man, Piper when he
Yeah, I'm on Piper.
in Madison Square Garden with Mr. T and Hogan and all that stuff, man, and
Jimmy Snuka and
yeah, all that stuff.
I'm on Piper.
I'll go Piper.
That's going to be a heck of a matchup in the Final Four.
Well-
Piper and Heenan.
Glenn said Piper. Kevin said Mitchell said Piper. Kelly said Piper.
Okay, next, Freddie Blassie against Ric Flair.
I'm still going Blassie.
I'm gonna go Flair.
That's tough for me. 'Cause I know how hated Blassie was.
You want some classic matches? They're on YouTube. Find some Blassie matches. You won't believe it's the same guy that managed.
Yeah.
That guy's mean as hell. And he liked blood too.
Yeah, tough as hell too.
Yeah.
Kelly says Flair.
I
David Kraft says Freddie. Damien says Flair. Glenn says Blassie. So
it's
this
pretty
was
much.
pretty down the
At
middle.
least I'm not a minority. At least some of them's. Yeah.
Come on, let's get a couple more votes so I don't have to be the deciding vote. I'm gonna go. Man, I don't know.
We might get it right there in your studio, depending on what Tony says. You're going to have to do it, Chris, because you're the only one there.
I was waiting for another vote, but evidently I'm gonna go with Blassie.
Whew. Go ahead, Chris, if you want.
Next matchup: Superstar Billy Graham against Vince McMahon.
I'll just wait till he's looking in the trunk.
Yeah.
I'll get him.
I still say Vince. I mean,
he was so hated. Vince
he was.
Vince against Superstar Billy Graham.
I'm gonna say Vince.
I think Vince also.
Got 2 more Vinces.
Okay, our final 4 is Heenan against Piper and Blassie against Vince. Okay, guys. Heenan or Piper? Most hated heel.
Ooh.
Piper. Thing is, those guys could cut promo. They can cut each other down in words that they could start now, and we come back this time tomorrow, they'd still be at it.
In the way Heenan worked the crowd, and they would yell "Weasel," and he just walked out.
That's why I say Reggie's got it. Reggie, because all he has to do is walk out that curtain, and people are yelling at him. So Reggie's got that.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna go Piper.
Man, I don't know about Heenan or Piper. That's
tough
for me.
Got a couple Heenans, a couple Pipers. Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm gonna go Piper.
Okay, we'll go with Piper then. Piper's in the finals. And he will be going against Freddie Blassie or Vince McMahon, who was most hated.
I'm gonna have to go with Vince.
Now it's getting rough.
Damien went with Heenan, but he also went with Vince. So he's got Vince down. So there's one for Vince. I think I'm going Vince. He was so hated.
Glenn says Vince.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to go Vince too. Because now you got
Hey,
Vince
guys,
and Piper.
Finals.
Oh, geez.
Piper against Vince. Who was the most hated?
I'm agreeing with Glenn earlier. Tie. I'm gonna have to say Vince.
Kelly says
now
Piper.
I think I'm going to go Piper.
I'm going with Piper too. So right now it's 3-1. So who else we got? Well, David's got Vince, I believe. I'm not sure if they got Vince for that or not.
What Kelly say, or Kelly said yet?
Right now we got 3. Right now we got 3 Vinces and 3 Pipers.
Kelly said Piper.
What did you say, Vince?
Vince.
You said Vince. So we got 4 Vinces and 3 Pipers.
Well, I think that's all of us because I think there's only about 7 of us voting.
I go Vince just because they hate him so much. They wanted the people were celebrating
What did Glenn pick?
Vince.
Well, then that's who it is because Glenn wins everything. So
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, hell, people celebrated when Vince finally retired out of WWE. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Just like Ric Flair finally retired.
Well,
Ooh, that got rough.
that was hard.
Guess I'm going to have to go back and look at some George. See, the thing is, George, all that stuff's black and white, and a lot of that film ain't very good to watch it anyway to see. Most people are talking over it.
Yeah.
That you can't really see. I know he had that valet with that big aerosol, looks like a bug killing thing that had the perfume in it, and he had Georgie pins, which instead of bobby pins, and they were pulling them out. Like no one of them run these days if you had one.
Does it look like Walter's running the camera? Is that what you're saying? Can't see anything.
It's just because it was so like the 50s, I think.
Hey, speaking of that, there was a Walter signing today on Facebook.
Well,
I
I guess it'd be all right to say this. I talked to Dalton Love and I asked him, I says, why did Walt cancel? And he said all he said was he canceled. And then Dalton said, I'll try to get in touch with him. And I guess he did. And Walt just needed some time away. So So Walt is okay. He just needed to step back a little bit, I guess.
Let me ask your opinion, Mark, especially since you've seen him some lately and just seen him this weekend. How do you rate? How good of a heel do you think Roman Reigns is?
Well, I hate him. I think he's like the Jawan Thomas of the Independents. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I know how you feel about Juwan Thomas.
Yeah, he's doing his job. He pisses me off. I mean, I don't like him, so I'm very verbal about Roman.
I love his facial expressions. I love him talking crap during the match. I loved after the match him basically after they lost, basically crying. Something I did think was interesting during that match when he thought that they had him pinned and they both kicked out, and he's over there basically distraught, and Solo is like taking a look at him, and you was wondering, was Solo ready to give him the damn?
Well, that's what Kelly kept saying. You couldn't. Solo had such facial expressions.
Yeah.
What is he thinking? Is he going to attack him? Is he going to go with them?
Yep, that's why I brought him up earlier because I felt the same way because there was times like there I thought he might attack Roman, and he went over there and he attacked the Usos and kind of got Roman back. But one part of that match was my favorite. We hadn't even mentioned it was when Paul Heyman calls that meeting. They go over there for that meeting. Yes. And Paul Heyman,
awesome.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
do you want that? Do you want your sons to be answering to them?
At that table,
at that table with him as a leader, it was outstanding. Yeah, storytelling out the ass.
Yeah, that was.
How anybody could not like that. I guess it's not fair of me to say because I'm not, 19, 20 years old, but I understand their attention spans are not, what mine is.
Answer me some questions because, like I said, I don't watch it. I know he's the undisputed champion. Where's this third belt come from? Is that one of the new ones they debuted, or?
Well,
the new all gold one. That's the new belt they just.
Are you talking about Seth's belt or
no?
The other one?
No, Roman's got all those belts. I know he's got.
Well, what it is, he's supposed to only have that one belt, and that's supposed to take the place of both belts. But to be asshole, Heyman carries the other two belts around too.
Because Kelly asked me, and it's like, I knew he was the undisputed, but I don't know what's up with all that.
Yeah, that's supposed to take the place of them other two belts, but they've got him carrying around just to be an asshole, to be the heel, carry around them other two belts. What Paul does. So it's just to aggravate people.
And it does.
Why they carrying around all three belts?
It works.
Because he can. That's why.
And I thought he was gonna go with his brothers. I did. There was a couple times during that match I did too.
And whatever happened to Daniel Bryan's wooden belt? I'd like to know where that thing got put.
Yeah.
Environmentally, what did he call that?
Something that could happen, Marcus.
The environment.
Something that could happen. We'll see. There's two wrestlers. Aku. You know who Aku is. He's got a son that's like 7 foot tall that wrestled in Japan. And then there's also the Tonga Kid, who's got a son that wrestled in Japan. And they were part of they're a tag team. Well, I think actually there's 3 of them over there. And I think they're leaving New Japan. And there are rumors that could be the new people coming into the bloodline, even though technically they're more like cousins or not blood relation. But that is the rumor that they could be coming in to help Roman.
I was just thinking a new set of Samoans, but.
Well, there is 2. There is Bakishi's got a son, but he just started training with Booker T, and then Hamanga has got a son that just started training with Booker T. I think that would be perfect for them 2 guys to come in. I just don't know if they're ready yet because they ain't been training that long.
I picked Damian Priest. Kelly picked Damian Priest to win the Money in the Bank. Now I picked Zelina Vega, and Kelly picked Becky Lynch. So
you picked Priest too, didn't you?
Yeah, I had Priest and what's her name? Also, I got that right.
Damien says,
I don't know. They keep teasing that.
I think it's going to be Cody Rhodes and Roman again at Mania.
That's what I think. I think that
and Rhodes is going to take the belt off of him.
I think that's who's still going to take the belt off of him. I think that Cody's going to keep going through these trial and tribulations. I think he'll be number 1 at the Rumble and he'll win it. And I think that's what I think is going to happen. We'll see. I mean, there could be injuries. There could be a lot of things happen.
I'll tell you, Dom sure has the heat. It is fantastic.
Oh yeah, it is.
That heat that kid has got,
Oh yeah.
man. He'd win. He'd beat Vince McMahon right now if he was on that list, probably. But
Yeah, the heat's incredible. Him right now. He's probably, as far as heat, probably got as much heat as anybody.
Yeah.
MJF does pretty good in AEW. But the problem with him, he can get him. He can go out there and start talking, and he so can manipulate the crowd that he can make them cheer for him, and then 10 minutes later decide, hey, I'm gonna go back to heel right then and make him turn again.
Who's this?
It's MJF.
Oh yeah, that guy reminds me of Blake Money Wright. To be honest,
yeah, Chris has seen him do it. We've seen him do it. Where I don't think Dom could do that. Dom is just really, really hated.
Yeah, and I don't think Dom's career would have went anywhere if he didn't heal.
Yep,
because he's such a baby face that he was kind of like Dustin Rhodes. He just whoopee. Dustin Rhodes, if he didn't change, he wasn't gone anywhere either. But yeah, Dom, he whiz. He's got the heat. I love to see that actually.
Yeah, hell, a lot of times he don't even have to talk.
No, sometimes he can't talk. It's so loud.
And to bring Rhea out. Whew.
The only thing that I'm upset, and this is my grandson brought this up to me, and he's right. I know Rhea's getting over with all of her work, except really right now her ring work. The only person she's been wrestling is Natalya. She's wrestling Natalya again tonight. They need to. I don't know if she's banged up a little bit or something or what's going on, but they need to put her against more credible opponents to make her title mean more. I mean, she's doing everything else right, perfectly, but I do agree that she's not. The only people she's beat has been Natalya and Zelina. I think it's time she need to beat a Becky Lynch or or somebody.
Yeah.
To make that title mean more. That's just my opinion. And Austin brought that to my attention, and he's right.
They're probably going to start building something. I would think.
Well, that was a hard list, guys.
Yeah, and it worked just like it should have because there at the end we're like, oh goodness.
Yeah.
Who do you think the biggest? If you take from, and this is something I've got later on, from 1988 to 2001, just those years, who was the biggest star of WCW? From 88 to 2001.
I don't know. Flair was gone for a while. Well, there was nobody there really the whole run.
He was gone from 91 to. They didn't put Flair as one on this list, and they put Sting as the number one and Flair two.
Sting, because he was there the whole time. I will go Sting. Now, I don't know how I forgot Sting, but yeah, I'll go Sting.
But there was some on that, and it's hard because you got to remember, you only count that time period. You can't count after that or before that. I'll break out that list sometime and we'll talk about it. It's pretty crazy. And plus this list was done by the WWE. So you wonder about some of the choices. Because they had I can't remember offhand, but they had Rey Mysterio way ahead of some people that I'm like, I don't know.
No.
But you stop and think about that time. Like they had Rey Mysterio way ahead of Mr. Perfect. Or not Mr. Perfect. He was Kurt Hennig. He wasn't Mr. Perfect.
In WCW?
Yes.
No.
He was just Kurt Hennig.
Kurt was that good in WCW, to be honest with you.
But they had Rey Mysterio way ahead of him. I'm talking.
Well, I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, but 20 spots ahead of him?
Well, that's that's quite a jump.
I mean, I think
I
maybe
remember Kurt and WCW's that rap is crap and
yeah, that's true.
How they take a former world champion and give him that kind of crap. But
well, Chris, you want to run over what we got? A bunch of cool stuff coming up here this week for GWR. You gonna do it, or are you gonna sleep?
You caught me at a bad
Oh,
time.
well, I didn't know you was gonna take a nap on me.
Asked me in the middle of a yawn. Yeah, see on today's Monday. So Wednesday we have pro wrestler Damian DeVille be joining us for an interview Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Then
He was on the show a long time ago, right?
yes, he's been on the show before. But it's been probably over a year,
Yeah,
maybe
definitely.
at least over a year, maybe probably a little longer than that.
I don't remember him being on the show. So it had to be longer than that.
Yeah, because I think because it wasn't too long after the first time we went to AACW. So yeah, it's been a while.
I think Stevie may have still been with you at that time. I can't remember.
Can't remember. And then Thursday we have Jason McGraw, who is a member of the Jay County Fair Board, and also we have ladies man Mike King,
Kelly's favorite.
one of the owners of DCCW, and he's also a pro wrestler. But they're going to come on Thursday and talk about the big Retro Mania coming up a week from today, next Monday, at the Jay County Fair. You have Demolition, Powers of Pain, Al Snow, Jimmy Hart, Brian Pillman Jr.
Yep.
Who else?
Congo Kong.
Yeah, I think Jake Oman, if I remember correctly.
Maybe.
I'm trying to think. And plenty of other people as well.
Oh, yeah.
Should be an awesome show. And I keep hearing about this big surprise.
I hadn't heard about that. So.
I've seen McGraw post a couple times about a big surprise. So I don't know what that is, and who knows? Maybe we can find out a little bit about that on Thursday.
Maybe.
Or they might tell us you have to go on Monday to find out.
Sound like Terry now.
We go out, march around a cornfield.
Yeah.
Cartage.
Grab an ear of corn. Don't be cartage.
But then also this Sunday, because I kind of skipped the Monday with the DCCW, but on Sunday we'll be at Summit Pro there in Greenfield, Indiana, for I think it's called Independence Day, if I remember correctly. And then the weekend after that, I know you won't be there, but Marcus and myself will be at Greenfield Boys and Girls Club for WCWO.
Big fundraiser.
So Greenfield a couple weekends in a row.
That's true.
Plus we'll be at Jay County.
Yep.
Yeah. Could be there. Damien asked a question. Do we think Rhonda is retired from WWE, and if she retires, does she deserve to go into the Hall of Fame?
No. I'm not a Rhonda fan.
That was quick.
You have to have her retire. I mean,
rumor is she's retiring and going back to the UFC.
I was just getting ready to say that. I seen that report.
Now that Amanda Nunes retired.
But that's
there's a rumor that Amanda Nunes may be going to WWE.
Yeah. So maybe they're going to swap places.
Maybe they're going to swap places. Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah, Shayna
I would probably have to say. I think I would have to agree with Marcus. I would say probably no in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, Shayna Baszler is my hero, man. Punch the hell out of her. Yeah.
She brought a lot of eyes to the WWE, but there's a lot of women. I'm not going to say no, she should never go in, but it's too soon for her to go in. There's a lot of other women that need to go in before Rhonda would ever go in. Maybe 10 years down the road, maybe Rhonda might deserve to go in, but no, not right now, not in the immediate future. I don't think so.
Billy says Rhonda's a head case.
I agree with that.
Well, definitely in the UFC, I don't know. I don't think she's got the mentality. She's had a baby and everything. I don't think she can handle it now.
She couldn't handle it when she was there.
Well, she did for a while, but
so they put her up against real competition
until she got beat, and she couldn't handle it.
Well, and then she didn't really handle it well in the WWE after she got to go full time. So
Dana White fed her opponents that he knew that there was like a 95% chance she was going to win. And then when he finally stepped up to competition on her, she got her head kicked off.
David's right. She's not been a wrestler long enough to deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
She's not really been a wrestler, I think, in general to start with.
Yeah, Marcus is
He's a
fire.
he sounds like Austin does on Roman Reigns.
Well, no, and Ronda. He don't like Ronda.
Yeah, he don't
either.
like Ronda either. Yeah, my son don't like Ronda at all either. He don't like Roman Reigns either.
But people,
He thinks Roman's terrible.
but see,
No, Roman can work.
yes, he can.
Yes, he can.
Yes, and
Ronda
Oh, I agree with you. I don't think
Ronda keeps doing too many finishing holds and shit. So,
but you know the thing about it, you know, everybody wanted Cody to win, to beat Roman, but we would have been robbed of this moment that was 3 years in the making of Jay being the first to pin him, even though it wasn't for the title. I think it was big for the story. I think Jay was the right pick to be the first one to pin him. I don't think there should have been anybody else.
yeah, because there's so much they can do with that story.
Yeah.
So much they can go with that.
No, I don't think Roman's as good as in the ring as Seth Rollins, but
No.
but as far as ring, but when you add the facial expressions and all that other stuff in there, I think he is as good. It's just not about all ring work. And don't get me wrong, I think Seth's good on the mic too, but just the persona. I think not that Seth don't have a big persona, but I think right now Roman's. I think he may be at a different level persona wise than anybody. Just my opinion.
Well, and then Seth, he stood there for what, 5 minutes?
Yep.
And those guys wouldn't shut up. I mean, that's power right there.
That's true too. That's true too.
So yeah.
You got anything else?
I'm good to
I know
go,
you're
man.
probably ready to go watch Raw.
Yep. Get a snack and watch Raw. I enjoyed this show, guys.
Yeah, I thought this was a real good show. But
Now we won't be on next week.
No, we will be.
Well, you tune in, but we'll be at the J County Fair, right?
Yes.
Are you broadcasting live?
Yes.
As far as we know, if the internet works out okay, which we thought being outside at
I think it will.
Greenfield would, but it didn't. There.
Yeah, but this fairgrounds is a little nicer and we'll be at the grandstand, so I would say we'll be able to get.
Okay. Well, hopefully.
But yeah, the plan is to be live Monday at the J County Fair for Retro Mania. So yeah, we won't be doing this show Monday, but we will be doing a wrestling show.
Yep.
And then join us Wednesday for Damian DeVille. Thursday for Jason McGraw and Ladies Man Mike King. And then also probably, I don't know the exact day, but I think Blake Money Wright is probably going to be on probably one day next week. He was wanting to get on this week, but this week's pretty full.
He's just in New York. He had a successful tour in New York this weekend.
Yeah.
And also, not this Monday, since we'll be doing the J County show. The following Monday, our topic is going to be, Chris don't even know this yet, but is going to be like supercards in a way, but it's going to be independent wrestlers against WWE, ECW, whatever kind of superstars, past, present, whatever. And we're going to be making cards. You can do as many matches as you want. And that's what we're going to do. Have some fun with that.
So I can get my Walter on and have like 16, 17.
Oh, you can get 25.
Up to 30, he said.
I
So
think about 30 matches already.
Damn.
yeah, Tony told me that 2 or 3 days ago when I pulled the notepad out and just started writing them down the minute they hit my head. So
But see, I'm changing mine as I go. I said, no, this would be better. So
we got 2 weeks to work on that.
Yep.
If things work out, I don't know
All
yet.
right.
But we may be at Summit. If we do Summit on Sunday, then it'll be 4 shows in 4 days. 4 promotions, 4 towns.
you can handle it.
But I don't know yet. And if that's the case, then Monday, if we hit all 4 shows this weekend, Monday will be number 50. So, but I don't know. I'll have to let you know about Sunday.
Okay.
I know I will be at the Dub on Friday. That's our plan right now. The Dub Friday, BMFX Saturday, J County on Monday, possibly Summit on Sunday. So
I think it's going to be a good show there Friday. Saw some of the matches advertised.
Oh, did you? I haven't seen any yet.
for which one?
I think there was for that one, the Dub on Friday. Have they advertised matches, or maybe I'm thinking of the
They
one that
haven't
just
out yet,
happened?
unless I haven't seen them yet.
I hadn't seen anything.
I might be thinking the ones for Friday.
You might have been asleep.
Well, I know what I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Fair fight.
Yeah, because he sent me he sent me a message with all the
Fair fight. Yeah.
stuff
Yeah, it's going to be a good card for
with
fair
all the
fight.
match graphics and everything.
Where's that at? Warrior?
Fair fight. Fair fight.
Yeah, that's a solid card.
Oh, it's going to be really good.
Look at the BMFX show on Monday or Saturday. That's a solid card too.
Yes, it is.
Well, so Summit. I mean, all weekend it's solid. And
Yep.
so,
All right. Please hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Gonzo Sports Room. Like, follow Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, all at Gonzo Sports Room as well, and at the ASAP All Sports All Plays Network. This has been G.W.R, and we will see you guys next week. Have a good night.
That'd be absolutely devastating.
This is G.W.R show. They've been trying to get me on this broadcast forever, and this is the worst damn broadcast I've ever been on. So you all can kiss my ass while I win this match.